So, hello everybody, and welcome back to Simulation Section. You join me and More Central. Yes, it's that voice of that Northerner. Goodness me, he's all over YouTube. Yes, I am. I'm on my main channel and More Central, and this one's Simulation Section, where I take a look at some of my simulator games, transport simulators, in the form of OMSI 2, the bus simulator, and this train simulator. So you join me on an early doors morning at 6:52 at Dewsbury on the Manchester Huddersfield to Leeds DLC that you can purchase from Steam. Our unit today is 150 140, and in today's video we are going to be taking this from here I was hoping the blind would work. From here, have I clicked the wrong button? There we go. From here in Dewsbury over to Leeds, replicating the lines that sometimes these more sort of Manchester-based units tend to operate. These tend to run lines, or used to run lines before all the 195s kicked in, between Leeds and Manchester Victoria, either via Bradford interchange and up Halifax, or they used to curve off just after Hebden Bridge and go through Dewsbury and on the stopper line to Leeds. So we are pretending today that this unit has just got to us from Manchester Victoria, and we're taking it through to Leeds before it will spin around, go back to Manchester Victoria, and possibly go on one of the local lines in the northwest. So we've got a few bits just to set up before we go, and just make sure that we are all good. We have loaded everybody. That was very slow. We have loaded everybody up. Something I do like about this 150-1 set is that all of the text here is actually really clear, unlike some of the bits that I have driven before, where it isn't that clear at all. We're also, once again, unsurprisingly, driving using the northern sort of purple and blue livery, because this is the livery that I absolutely love. We'll set that up instead. And with all that sorted, and the 142 dashing off in the background to make its way over to Manchester Victoria, we will make a move. So I will get that all set up. That off, and off we go. So our stopper line today takes us to Leeds, calling at Batley, Morley, Cottingley and Leeds, finishing at Leeds platform 10, where the train will then sit at the platform before spinning around and heading back towards Manchester Victoria. These do, as I say, or did used to, occasionally make their way over to Leeds on these lines from Manchester, in the same way that these 150/1 set two cars also make their way over to Sheffield from time to time on the Hope Valley line. West Yorkshire does now have its own set of 150s with this flat front bodywork in the form of the 8 free car sets that were made, where they sort of chopped up a few and added an extra carriage in the middle, and these have helped to create a few free cars that you tend to find on lines like the Huddersfield Penistone line, as well as the Moorthorpe via Moorthorpe Leeds to Sheffield lines. We'll have a little bit of a brief pause here just to have a look at Dewsbury. As I say, this is a proper Steam add-on, so the detail isn't like what we were talking with that Max Tracks Airedale and Wharfdale line. You can still see where the road is, you can still see the basics of the station. I mean, there's a pub there usually, not a stone wall. There's also usually a bus stop here, and I know that because of all the rail replacements I've caught. But you do get the basic gist of Dewsbury. The basic concept of it's here, the nice bridge, so it still does a relatively nice job of showcasing what Dewsbury's like. And I would say that this is not normal for a car to be parked the wrong direction, because this is a one-way street. However, in Dewsbury, anything is possible. So we will leave that, we won't judge it, and we will make our way over to Leeds. So again, as I did mention that I was going to be doing, this is one of my own scenarios that I've made based on a little bit of research. This is based off a run a number of years ago, about 12 years ago, or 12 and a half years ago now, that sister unit 150-136 made on an early morning trip from Manchester Victoria over to Leeds. So the idea is we're basing it very much on that. So there are a few bits on this, that this is as I say, this route is modern day based. So although all the scenarios are based on sort of regional railways era, of like the late 80s and early 90s, the route itself has been made to reflect the modern day route. Although since obviously the modern day route, the closure has been announced of Cottingley Station, and they've started to build White Rose Shopping Centre Station and run out of money. So there have been a few changes since this route came out. It is a couple of years old, is this one, so it isn't the newest one. However, it is still a nice route, and as you'll see when we get to Leeds, it does provide a nice contrast of what Leeds Station looks like in this particular route compared to what it looks like in the brand new Airedale and Wharfdale lines. I will be going back to the Wharfdale and Airedale lines probably in the next video, but I sort of had a little look at this and I did fancy making a scenario on here. So also a little bit of a teaser for what we might be doing on this particular route. As I say, if people are interested, then I'm quite happy to purchase the relatively new Class 185 and take that for a little bit of a spin on this line. Because again, it was sort of like this line was made for it. I was very, very surprised actually when this route came out that they didn't just make a 185 for it and put that on it. That did surprise me, to be quite honest. As a result of that, though, the traffic that I have added to this particular scenario doesn't reflect anything Transpennine. So we're going to go down the road of pretending that, as usual, to be fair, Transpennine have had an issue on the line. There's a blockage up in York, and nothing has actually made it through Leeds. So we are going to pretend that there's obviously an issue on the line. There are a few other bits of traffic that we'll see, especially as we get closer to Leeds. What I do also like about this 150/1 is it does actually have a Leeds blind on it, and there are a few blinds missing, like someone did make a scenario for this going to Ilkley, and then moaned that it didn't have Ilkley on the blind. So sometimes when these base units are made, I believe I've got an enhancement pack added to this in some shape or form, I'm sure I do, because I know that the basic model of this when it was released isn't the most detailed, safe to say, of models, so I'm pretty certain I've got an enhancement pack in some shape or form installed on this, I want to say. So, yeah, I'm sure there's some enhancement pack. I know that I've added the enhancement on the repaints, I know that much. I've definitely enhanced the repaints the best I can. I can't remember if I've installed that many enhancement packs and that many extras and that many bits and bobs. I cannot remember what I've got on this. But I will have a little bit of a look, and I'll add into the link accordingly what I am using. But again, this scenario is based around the 2010s era. If people are interested in driving it themselves, I am quite happy, like with the other ones, to finish it off a little bit more and package it up for anybody interested in driving it. That is something I am looking into by making some of these different scenarios, seeing what people are interested in, and obviously releasing them, because like other people, I don't have every single DLC under the sun. Sometimes it's always really funny because you'll always buy a load of add-ons for Train Sim. You'll always buy bits of bobs and spend hundreds and hundreds of pounds on it, and yet someone will release a scenario and you've never got the right trains for it. You just never do. You just never ever have the right units, and it is the most irritating thing. Where you're there like, surely by now I have got everything that I need to make this work, and you just never do. There is a 142. I can only assume it's possibly running on the stopper to Huddersfield, as we're basing this around the many different areas in which Northern have been tasked with running the stoppers, because it's sort of been 1 week they were tasked with running the stoppers, another week they weren't, and so forth and so forth, and that seems to be how it works. Let's see if we can see if I've got it just before the shadow. I have, but the lighting's still not 100%. Yeah, we'll watch it go past, because that's always cool. There we go. And then we shall continue over to Morley. So again, this scenario is only about 20 odd minutes, something like that. As I say, we're starting from Dewsbury, because obviously that's where this train would have joined on. They joined on at Ravensthorpe, but I didn't just want to start somewhere random and not every service, as far as I'm aware, goes via there. I mean, officially, I say that, officially it started at Murfield. Did this, so this unit would have joined onto the line from Brighouse, then curved round to Murfield. There's no lights in the interior on this. Look, no lights in the interior at all. That's odd. Everybody just sat in the darkness. Fair dues. This is exciting. But yeah, officially this would have started in Murfield, and to be fair, I did think about starting it in Murfield, but I thought Dewsbury's quite a good place to start. It's like a major town, and what have, and as I say, we get to focus a little bit more on what's going on in Leeds and what's going on that side of the route. This tunnel feels very, very far away. Very far away. So next stop, as I say, is Morley, and then after Morley we do the rarity of serving Cottingley, and then from Cottingley on to Leeds. Oh, there's a gap in the tunnel there, that's a bit of a yikes. So we're going early out the tunnel, there's... Oh no, the tunnel baited us, and we were baited by the tunnel where it hadn't loaded in a section of it. Yeah, to be fair, from memory, because again, I haven't been on this line on a train. Again, I've been on this line on a rail replacement bus. And from memory of looking at Marley Station, that's quite a good thing actually, because when you're on the rail replacement buses and travelling about, you tend to notice things a little bit more. And obviously, going around the bus spotting on the lines as well, you do tend to notice a lot more going on. And what have, I'm just making sure that we are actually going to stop here, because it seems to be going a little bit too quick. I'm going to be honest. I don't want to miss the station, but at the rate we're going at, it's going a little bit too quick. So let's just turn it on down a little bit. I don't like using full service, as you all know, but I'd rather stop than entirely miss the station. So there we go. So Morley Station, all good and dandy. So we're a little bit late, because I have set this up as like a timetable scenario as well. We have a little bit late, but we're doing okay. Now, this station, Morley, has had quite a bit of work done in recent times. Quite a lot of work, with the extension of the platforms, and they change around how it looks slightly. That is not reflected within this route because this was made before those upgrades. They're all done as part of the Trans-Pennine route upgrade scheme. So I've been here, and as I say, they've got a lift between the platforms now, and a slightly different car park. So we're not going to spend too long looking at Morley. I'd usually pause and have a look. But one thing I will acknowledge is the red and white metro-style shelters for passengers. That, I will admit, is pretty cool. So I believe the lighting might be right now. Yes, it is. Excellent. Oh, we don't want to... Another thing with the joys of Train Simulator is getting your angle right on your screenshot, because everybody who plays Train Simulator knows that the most important thing about what you do in this simulator is the screenshots. You have to get the screenshots right. That is like the number one thing. And that's why I drive, as I say, with the resolution on the highest I can physically get it now, the detail on the highest I can physically get it, and make sure that we have all the details humanly possible. Oh, there we go, that'll do. And we'll watch that go. I still absolutely love this livery. I will try, no promises, but I will try and drive the next video in a different livery. I promise. I know it's been 3 videos back to back of just northern 2010s, because that's just my era of travelling on trains, and remembering all these different units and different types of stuff and bits like that. So I don't make any apology for driving all these various different lines with this livery, but it does look really cool. You've got to admit, it does look really, really cool. Like, again, talk about screenshot ops just before the shadows change. There we go. And then now on to Cottingley and then to Leeds. So it's quite nice actually to have a slightly shorter scenario. Sometimes, as I say, there's all, when you look at train simulator scenarios, there's all the really long ones where it's like 2 hours long and an hour and a half long and an hour long. That everything's like that, about like 45 minutes or above. There's not that many scenarios that are actually shorter ones. So that's why I thought I'd do this, something a little bit different. It is a nice shorter scenario. I've done a few longer videos recently on Train Simulator, and there'll be a few more coming up from Omsey too as well that are quite long on the longer routes. But it is nice every so often to do a little bit of a shorter one on a shorter section, and we can enjoy this part of the route as well, because usually when you see this section of route, you've either come on a drive from Huddersfield or from Manchester, and by this point you sort of get to it and go, I've had enough now. I've had enough now, I just want to get there. So it's quite nice to actually look at the stations, look at the different points and enjoy it a little bit more, rather than thinking, oh my goodness me, we've been driving for an hour, I know it's only a simulator, but I want to finish. So, but I'll be utilising the idea of this sort of divert line a little bit, I think, in a couple of future videos as well. And then there was also a few bits where Northern have done stoppers on the Huddersfield to Manchester bit as well that I'll be looking into too. But again, if you are interested in me enhancing the experience on this particular route a little bit more by purchasing that 185 that I am thinking about buying, then please do let me know. Let me know if that is of interest, and I will put it a little bit more into consideration than I currently already am. That you can probably tell I'm already very much considering it. So there we go, Cottingley again. Cottingley is a housing estate. A couple of buses serve it. Not much exciting goes on, I will admit, but Cottingley. This is the station that they're trying to close at the moment, purely because they're opening the White Rose Shopping Centre station that the Mayor for West Yorkshire has now run out of money to build. It's all a bit controversial, what's going on. Some people love what's going on, some people hate what's going on. I am personally in the boat of people that dislike what's going on, but it is what it is at the end of the day. And the mayor was elected, and if people choose to have their money spent in that way, then that's entirely up to them. So we are running a little bit late, so we do need to get our foot down a little bit. See if we can catch some time up as we make our way into Leeds. So I remember when this 150/1 set came out, and all people had against it were just constant negative views. And I remember getting it, and as someone that always found these flat-fronted 150s fascinating, I was also a bit disappointed, I'm going to be honest. There are still bits that are disappointing, like there is no interior lighting. I mean, you've got seats and an interior view. You've also got no one on it. That's, again, a little bit disappointing. And no interior lights. It's a bit weird. So it is still an incredibly basic model. It wouldn't be my go-to model to purchase a train sim first if I've just started driving in train sim, because it is a bit of a poorer model. But as someone that is interested in it, as long as you stay in the cab and you focus on what's going on here, that, as I say, is okay. And you get some reskins and bits that look good like this one, and then it's all worth it. It's entirely worth it. Looks really nice, does the job, and is also an incredibly nice model to include for sort of the likes of AI traffic going around. Oh, don't! I actually pressed it! I pressed it, why? I need to get my keyboard looked at, because I genuinely pressed that. I pressed the Q and it was doing nothing. And it was one of the, this is another thing I've noticed with train sim, is sometimes it's okay with me using, like, clicking the button on the hub. Sometimes it's alright with the Q, and sometimes it just decides it's not going to register either, and then we end up having to stop, like we are now. I promise we will have a good run of a couple of videos where we don't end up having to stop. I promise. Let's go. Typical train. Typical train antics. As I still absolutely love the reflections in this game. As someone that spent so long driving this game on the lowest settings because that's all it would work for me on. The detail on this game is just amazing, absolutely amazing. I mean, at least one positive is we've slowed down for the 50, so that's good. We've slowed down for the 50, so that's a nice positive. The problem is as well though is I've also set up on this scenario a lot of AI traffic that I think we're going to slightly miss, just purely because of how late we've ended up running. But hey ho, is what it is at the end of the day. Is what it is. It'd just be a quieter variation of Leeds than what we're used to. Something else I've also noticed with this is just how quiet it is within the cab as well. Like, there's just no sound in the cab compared to what there should be. I mean, I did test the 142 out not so long ago, and that were really loud in the cab. This is just nothing at all. Like, it is incredibly quiet. Especially for a DMU that you should be able to hear at least a little bit of the engine from the cab, at least a little echo. So this is like a bit of my childhood. And once again, oh, we are for some reason speeding up. Don't know how that's happening. There we go. This is like another bit of my childhood. Is this this sort of snaking round to get to the station? And this is always something I've enjoyed. It's incredibly soul destroying when you're in a rush. I will admit, when you're in a rush, it is incredibly soul destroying. Because you're sort of snaking about, and you just seem to never get to the station. But still looks pretty cool. Oh, we've got another unit. Oh, we've got a couple of baits. Oh, hello. What's going on here? So we've got 333 that's waiting for us to change lines so it can go. That'll be heading up the Airedale and Wharfdale lines like us in the next video. And we've got another 150 /1, presumably heading back on the run that we've just done. There we go, I caught it that time. There we go, look at this as you're snaking again. Another cool thing about when you're snaking round is all the other trains and bits and bobs that pass you. So cool. Always is so cool. Going through Leeds and sort of seeing them all as you're snaking through and they're snaking through and everybody's making their way. It's so cool. And as I say, having got the Airedale line, we've got access to the 333, so that's cool. There we go, and look at that! Look at that! Let's see what we can do screenshot wise with that, shall we? Because I was hoping I have set up a 91 in this scenario, so I was hoping to see that, but I think because we're that late, I think that's already gone. That is a little bit annoying, but hey ho. These things happen. Trains don't wait for us if we're late. As people have found out many a time when their train has arrived in late, and I found out many a time. And then I want to try and get one with just like the northern branding on every single one. There we go. A little bit. Well, say, but I want to get at least I want to get it on the 333. That looked cool on the 333. And then because this is cool. I am going to admit I'm quite impressed with how it turned out. Yeah, it didn't turn out as planned, but that's still pretty cool. Meeting all of them there as they're waiting for me to clear. Oh, although I say that, the triple three is already gone, because as I've cleared it, it has made a move. So there we go, arriving into Leeds. There's a couple of bits and bobs here, by the looks of it. Yeah, it looks like we've been beaten in by the East Coast 91. There's a 150 there as well. That looks like it's heading out on an adventure somewhere. And a triple three that's already pulled into the station, presumably from somewhere like Ilkley or Skipton. So a lot of switching and swapping to get onto platform. 10 is a little bit of a more difficult one to get onto with how it's positioned with the tracks. But it is always a cool one. You do always tend to see a northern unit parked in it. Usually heading up the Manchester Victoria lines, either via Dewsbury or via Bradford interchange. It's pretty cool to be able to go into platform 10. Because as I say, it's all part of it, all looks really good. And as long as we don't crash into the buffers, we're doing really well. So I believe this is the same model as was used in the Airedale and Wharfdale lines. I have already noticed a couple of changes that are a little bit lower quality than what were found in the Airedale and Wharfdale lines, and I imagine they have made a few changes for that to enhance it. As I say, this is a couple of years old now. Is this? But still does the job. Still looks good. As I say, not as good, I would argue, as the Airedale and Wharfdale line, but still looks pretty decent nevertheless. So, if we head round here, and with the sound of the lovely 91 in the background, we have now arrived into Leeds. So that was fun. I enjoyed that, to be fair. A nice steady run from Dewsbury to Leeds with the 150/1. A unit that you tend to find around Manchester, but they do tend to make, and definitely used to, back in the 2010s, quite regular appearances to Leeds. They still make relatively regular appearances in Sheffield on the Hort Valley line in lieu of 195s when they don't work. So do 156s from time to time. So, as I say, regular units around Manchester, but they do make the odd appearances. And on this particular time that we have set this, it's not just us on there; it's the unit in front of us as well. So this unit probably stable here for a little bit, and then head back up to Manchester Victoria, probably via the Dewsbury line again, and then maybe it'd stay on all day, maybe it'd change onto something else, and that would be how it would go. So, yeah, I do hope you've enjoyed this video and enjoyed this scenario. If you are interested in me enhancing it a little bit and possibly releasing it, then do let me know, as I'm happy to work on it and get it released and do a little bit of a scenario package of northern-based scenarios from the 2010s, because that's the kind of thing I'm into. If you are also wanting to see a bit more on the Leeds to Manchester via Huddersfield Line, i.e. See a bit more modern-day stuff, because that's what really interests me, then let me know if you do want me to have a look into getting that Class 185, because if there is interest in it, I'll buy it and we'll do a few runs with it, then we'll see how we go. And do keep sending in your suggestions for trains, routes and reskins you'd like to see from Train Sim, and buses, repaints and maps you'd like to see me driving on too. I do always look at your suggestions, I do mould what I do. And yeah, I do hope you've enjoyed this video. If you have done, do be sure to click that like button, as that way more people can find the video and enjoy it just like you have. And if you haven't already, then please do be sure to subscribe to the Simulation Section channel for more content like this from the simulation worlds of OMSI 2, Train Simulator, and much more. Thank you once again for watching. Thank you for your continued support, and I will see you all in the next video, mate. Goodbye for now. Bye.